It is the summer of 2026, and you are sitting in stop-and-go traffic. The asphalt is radiating 98 degrees, your shirt is glued to the leather seat, and the air coming out of your dashboard vents is warm. Not cool, not lukewarm, warm. But here is the part that is going to make your blood boil. This morning, when you started the car in your driveway, that exact same air conditioner was blowing ice cold, frigid, Arctic. You could have hung meat in that car. So you do what every honest, trusting, hardworking person does in 2026. You take your car to the dealership, you hand them the keys, and 45 minutes later, a man in a clean polo shirt walks out from behind a desk holding a clipboard, and he tells you, with the saddest face he can muster, that your entire air conditioning system is dead. Compressor, condenser, receiver dryer, the whole assembly. He slides a quote across the counter, and the number staring back at you is $1,500, $1,500. In an economy where eggs cost $7 and rent is eating 60% of your paycheck, this Stealership wants $1,500 because, according to them, your AC clutch is not engaging. And here is the dirty little secret they pray you never learn. The compressor is perfectly fine. The internal pistons are spinning beautifully. The Freon is sitting in the lines exactly where it belongs. The actual problem, the entire reason you are sweating in that traffic jam, is a single piece of metal smaller than a fingernail clipping, a microscopic shim, a washer so thin you could lose it in your carpet. And the fix cost you exactly $0. Zero. Now, the dealerships making billions off your sweat and misery want you to think HVAC systems are untouchable voodoo magic. They aren't. It's basic electromagnetism, physics that has not changed since the 1800s. But as always, I'm sharing this for historical and educational purposes, because I believe a driver who understands his machine is a driver who cannot be extorted. So, sit down, grab some water, and let me walk you through the single greatest scam happening in every service bay in America right now, the AC compressor lie, and the 10mm bolt that destroys it. Let's talk about why the Japanese figured this out 40 years ago and your local Stealership is still pretending it is rocket science. The compressor on the front of your engine, the one with the pulley spinning every time the belt turns, is doing something extremely clever. That pulley is always spinning. Always. Whether your AC is on or off, that belt is dragging that pulley around at engine speed, but the actual compressor shaft inside is not always spinning. Because if it was, you would be compressing refrigerant constantly, your engine would be working overtime, and your fuel economy would collapse. So Japanese engineers, particularly the brilliant minds at Denso, designed something called a magnetic clutch. It is genius. On the face of that pulley sits a small, flat metal disc, the clutch plate, and behind the pulley sits a copper coil wrapped around an iron core. When you push that little snowflake button on your dashboard, 12 volts of current flow into that copper coil, and instantly, by the laws of electromagnetism that Michael Faraday wrote down in 1831, that coil becomes a powerful electromagnet. That electromagnet reaches forward through the pulley and yanks the clutch plate backward, slamming it against the spinning pulley face. The plate locks to the pulley, the compressor shaft starts spinning with it, refrigerant gets compressed, and cold air pours into your cabin. When you turn the AC off, the current stops, the magnetic field collapses, and a small spring pulls the plate back away from the pulley. There is a tiny gap between the plate and the pulley face when it is disengaged, and that gap is everything. That gap is the entire ballgame. From the factory, that gap is set to a specification, usually somewhere between 0.4 and 0.6 of a millimeter. That is how much air sits between the magnet and the metal it is supposed to grab. Denso designed this clutch to last hundreds of thousands of miles. They knew exactly what they were doing. The Japanese engineering philosophy is motenai, which roughly translates to a deep cultural shame about wasting anything. They build these compressors to be serviceable, repairable, and eternal. The Western Stealership philosophy is the exact opposite. Throw the whole thing in the dumpster and bill the customer $1,500. Same hardware, two completely different worlds. If you're tired of mechanics condemning your entire AC system over a microscopic gap, hit the like button right now. I am dead serious. The algorithm in 2026 buries this kind of repair information because it costs the auto service industry billions of dollars every single summer. A simple thumbs up keeps this video alive. And tell me in the comments exactly how much a mechanic quoted you to fix your car's air conditioning. I want to see the numbers. $1,200, $1,800, $2,200. Drop those quotes in the comments because we are building a public record of HVAC extortion in real time, and other drivers need to see it before they get their wallets emptied this summer. So here is exactly how the Stealership scam works in 2026, and I want you to follow this carefully because the moment you understand the playbook, you can never be a victim again. You pull into the service bay. The advisor takes your keys. They drive your car around the block. They let it idle in the bay for 10 minutes. They crank the AC, and they watch the compressor clutch. They are not running diagnostics. They are not testing pressures. They are looking at one thing. Is the front clutch plate spinning with the pulley, or is it sitting still while the pulley rotates around it? When that plate is not engaging, 90% of Stealerships in this country will write you up the same identical quote. New compressor, around $600 to $800 for the part. New receiver dryer because they claim contamination, another $150. Evacuate and recharge the system, $200 in labor and refrigerant, and let me tell you, the new R1234 YF refrigerant they are pushing in 2026 is running over $100 a pound at wholesale, so they mark that up to the moon. Then add 4 hours of labor at $175 an hour because they have to pull the serpentine belt, evacuate the system, unbolt the compressor, swap it, refill it, and pressure test it. By the time they are done writing that ticket, you are looking at $1,500 to $2,000. And the kicker, the part that should genuinely make you want to flip a table, is that the compressor they are throwing in the trash is mechanically perfect. Inside that aluminum housing, the swash plate is fine, the pistons are fine, the seals are fine. They are condemning a $1,000 piece of Japanese engineering because of a fraction of a millimeter of error. That is HVAC extortion. That is the business model. Planned obsolescence is not an accident. It is a profit center. They train technicians to never even think about adjusting the magnetic clutch gap because there is no money in a free repair. There is no commission on honesty. The whole Stealership economic model in 2026, with inflation crushing every household budget, is built on the assumption that you, the driver, do not understand basic physics. They are betting on your ignorance. Today we end that bet. Now let me explain the actual science, because this is where it gets beautiful. Why does the AC work cold in the morning and fail when the engine gets hot? The answer is a phenomenon called thermal expansion combined with copper resistivity. Stay with me. When your engine is cold, that copper coil inside the clutch is sitting at maybe 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Copper at 70 degrees has a very low electrical resistance, which means when 12 volts hit it, a strong, healthy current flows through it, and that current generates a powerful magnetic field. That field reaches across the gap, which over 120,000 miles has worn from, say, 0.5 millimeters to maybe 0.9 or 1 full millimeter, and it is just barely strong enough to yank the clutch plate in. Click. Cold air. You drive to work happy, but then you sit in traffic. The engine bay temperature climbs from 70 degrees to 180, 200, 220 degrees, and here is what the Stealership will never explain to you. As copper heats up, its electrical resistance increases. This is a fundamental property of metals. The hotter the wire gets, the harder it is for electrons to flow through it. So, that same 12 volts pushing through that hot copper coil now produces less current. Less current means a weaker magnetic field. And on top of that, all the steel components in the clutch are physically expanding from thermal expansion, slightly altering tolerances and geometry inside the assembly. Now you have a weakened magnet trying to reach across a gap that has already been worn out wider than the factory ever intended, and it just barely cannot do it. The plate sits there, motionless, while the pulley spins around it. Warm air pours into your cabin, you sweat, you curse, you drive to the Stealership. They sell you a $1,500 lie. The compressor was fine the entire time. The magnet was fine. The only thing that failed was a gap, a piece of empty space. And space, my friends, is free to fix. The fix is so simple it borders on insulting. You will need a single 10mm socket, a regular screwdriver, and about 15 minutes of your life. Park the car, pop the hood, find your AC compressor. It is the chunky aluminum unit with the belt-driven pulley on the front, usually mounted low on the engine. Look at the front of that pulley. You will see a flat, round metal plate sitting flush with the pulley face, and right in the dead center of that plate, you will see a single 10mm bolt, sometimes 12mm depending on the manufacturer. That bolt is holding the clutch plate onto the compressor shaft. Take your socket, crack that bolt loose, counterclockwise, and remove it. Set it somewhere safe. Now the clutch plate is held on by a splined shaft, but it is sitting tight from years of pressure. You take a flathead screwdriver, gently pry behind the plate, and it will pop off into your hand. You are now holding the front clutch plate, and you are looking at the splined shaft. Sitting on that shaft, between where the plate was and the compressor body, you will see one or sometimes two extremely thin metal washers. These are the shims. Pull one off with your fingernail or a magnetic pickup tool, just one. Throw it in your toolbox or your trash, your choice. Now you slide the clutch plate back onto the splined shaft. You will feel it sit measurably closer to the pulley face than it did before. Thread the 10mm bolt back in, torque it down snugly, and close the hood. Start the engine. Hit the AC button. You will hear a crisp, immediate, confident click as the magnet now easily reaches across that newly tightened gap and yanks the plate in. Cold air. Real cold air. And it will work that way for another 100,000 miles. Total cost, $0. Total time, 15 minutes. Stealership profit, vaporized. Now look, subscribe and hit the bell before the dealership lobby and the Auto Manufacturers Association get this channel shut down, because they have been actively flagging shim removal content across every platform in 2026, claiming it is dangerous to vehicles. It is not dangerous. It is the original Denso factory service procedure from 1985. They just do not want you to know it exists. Share this video with anyone you know who is driving with broken AC right now in this brutal summer heat. A father, a mother, a coworker, your kid in college. You are not just saving them $1,500, you are teaching them that the entire Stealership model is built on the assumption that you cannot read a service manual. You can. You just did. The shim is real, the science is real, and the savings are real. Stay skeptical, stay cool, and I will see you in the next one.